بذكر سنة
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Ahmed, go ahead. I was just starting the recording, so you should be good to go.
بعد لسه شوي في سنة في ست من اللجنة الدائمة للسكان مش قادرة تدخل، فهي عم بتقول لي سناء مش عم بترد لأنه سناء بالقاعة معك. قلت لها ممكن حد يساعدك من الاي تي، قالت لي أنا بالبيت. في الحالة هي صعب نقدر نعمل لها أي شيء، بس بدك تقول لي عشان نبدأ يعني لأنه الوقت على القد. هلال اسمعني؟
نعم تفضل. ايه دكتور احمد؟
نبدا؟
Yeah, sure. Recording is already on. Interpretation is enabled. Yeah, you can start.
Okay. Good morning everyone. صباح الخير صباح الخير للجميع اللي عم يسمعني. أنا أحمد حسين.
My name is Ahmed Hussein. I am the official statistics expert in the Qatar.
هذه الجلسة المعنية ببناء
the session for building a centralized statistics database. Before we start our technical meeting, it's my pleasure to ask Mr. Mohammed Al-Naimi, the Assistant Director of the Planning and Statistics Authority, to take the floor. He is now in position as per Emir Decree of 2022. Before he joined the authority, he was in a number of positions like in Qatar Foundation, Head of Operations, and also the Head of Silatec, as well as Business Development Director in the Office of Her Highness Sheikha Moza, and he's worked in the energy sector in Qatar Gas and Southcom in the UK for 14 years. He has a master's degree from CAS Business School in the UK in London. He also has a BA in Civil Engineering from Mino University. So he has all these degrees, and I'm going to ask His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Abdulaziz Al-Naimi to inaugurate this workshop. Do you hear me, Mr. Mohammed? Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me, Doctor? Yes, please go ahead. Thank you so much, Doctor, for these kind words. I would like to welcome you in this workshop that highlights a very important project on building a centralized statistics database in the state of Qatar to the best means to provide the Thank you so much for answering this invite to take part in this workshop, which we consider of high importance. And we hope that it would enrich our knowledge when it comes to disseminating data and statistics and ensuring users have access to them expeditiously in a very smart and effective manner. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the basic principles of the
على أن الإحصاءات الرسمية
statistics are of public interest, and having access to them should be done in a very timely manner and at the same time by all users. This has to take into consideration the various needs of the different users. These statistics also have to be comprehensive. They have to be made available
دون أن تكون لديهم المعرفة التقنية المتقدمة. كما يتم التأكيد فيها على سرية البيانات الشخصية المتعلقة
ensure
بالأفراد
the privacy and the secrecy and confidentiality of the data of individuals and of corporations as well, which makes them a very important tool. You know that we are going through a data revolution, which is the fruit of artificial intelligence development and smart technology. This revolution is not characterized only by the big volume of data, rather by the big demand for this data. And this requires improving the accessibility of data they need, as well as evidence and elements needed to measure and gauge the progress that we are making towards the 2030 agenda, development agenda. It is also expected that the conclusions of this workshop would participate in having a clear vision
تمكن المستخدمين من غير
which would
المتخصصين
allow users who are not experts in data and statistics to reach whatever they need.
وفي مقدمة هؤلاء متخذي القرارات وراسمي
And it
السياسات
would also help policymakers, decision makers, researchers, academics, and those working in civil society organizations to do their job in a better manner. The statistics database would be extremely helpful for us to draft our third development strategy, 2023-2030. Excellencies, honorable delegates, we would like to welcome you once again. We are looking forward to the outcomes of this workshop, which will definitely help draft a roadmap to build this statistics database we're looking forward to. This can only take place when ministries and government entities, as well as the private sector entities and households, provide the Planning and Statistics Authority with the necessary data supported with the necessary methodology. In closing, I cannot but welcome the organizers of the workshop and thank them, as well as the presenters, of course, and thank them for their preparation, as these presentations will help us reach what we are looking for. We would also like to thank the interpreters who are here to facilitate our communication. Thank you, sir. I'd also like to thank my colleagues in the Planning and Statistics Authority, particularly Dr. Ahmed Hussein, for the efforts that they have put in to prepare and to organize this workshop. May God guide your path in your endeavors. May the upon you. Have the floor,
أشكر
Doctor.
سعادة
I
محمد
would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Abdelaziz Naimi for inaugurating this workshop. We thank him for all his efforts, all the assistance that he provides us with, the support that he's given us to ensure that this workshop be held and become a reality. So before we start our technical work, I have some housekeeping issues that I have.
نحن مثل ما أنتم عارفين عندنا ترجمة فورية يعني من اللغة العربية للإنجليزية وبالعكس موجودة تحت
You can find the interpretation icon with the, if you press on more, you will see chat, you'll see recording of the workshop as it happens, and you have the chat. So through the chat and
حلقة العمل هاي إنه يوجه أي سؤال للمحاضرين ممكن عن
the speakers, be it via writing, and we also have Dr. Davy and our colleague Sana, who may direct the questions to the presenters. And I'm going to ask anyone who asks the question to address a specific speaker. You may also raise your hand. This is another function that is available to us in our system. But you have to understand that this intervention can only come after the presenters according to the agenda. So the first speaker will be from Malaysia. The second speaker will be from the National Statistics Institute in Italy. Then we will open a Q&A session, and this is when you can address any of your questions. So, in line with the agenda,
لماذا نعقد حلقة العمل هاي؟ حلقة العمل هاي الحقيقة تستهدف تطوير النظام
at developing the whole Qatari statistics system. We have participants from Planning and Statistics Authority and those providing them with data and information from the relevant authorities and ministries. This workshop is going to hopefully contribute to highlighting the data warehouse that we can call the data warehouse, as we say it in English. It would give us a comprehensive idea about
المؤشرات اللي ممكن تضاف
through the indicators in terms of comprehensiveness, as well as establishing international comparisons between the state of Qatar and other countries. We are very much helped through technology.
ساعدنا في بناء هذا
these technological advancements and applications may be of great help to us to build the data warehouse we are aiming at. Also, data integration is another concept. When we want to work statistically, we ought to take all the data and integrate them and consolidate them with data from other sources. This data warehouse would help our colleagues who are working on the voluntary national review. Now, what about this data warehouse? What does it look like? Usually a data warehouse hosts all the data that we can describe as structured. The ones that are structured have statistical concepts and principles.
تعليم، بيانات العمل، بيانات السكان، وبيانات الأسعار. بيانات شبه مهيكلة، يعني اللي بيشوبها نقص في مجال مثلا المكان أو في مجال الجغرافيا، والغير مهيكلة هي ممكن أن تكون البيانات الضخمة. فيما يتعلق بالخطوات اللي
correctly. Now, in terms of the steps that we may take, at the outset, we have to build the data lake. This data lake has all the different data, structured or non-structured, including individual data. They can all be included in this data lake. But a part of that could be for the Planning and Statistics Authority, and another part could be accessible to users, and they can conduct the necessary analysis. The data warehouse is usually hosts the structured data, and they can be sorted or broken down as per the statistical activities as issued by the UN. As for the data mark, it is a specialized
boards فيها مؤشرات عن الجندر
data that is very well specialized about the gender, about education, let's say about labor, specific kind of data. This data mark is for decision makers, because decision makers don't have really the time and the luxury of going to all the different tables that may be born out of the warehouse, data warehouse. Because in the data warehouse, we may produce statistical tables that can be multidimensional. I will give the floor now to our colleagues in Malaysia. The first speaker is Mr. Harzi Muhammad Nuruddin, who has been working for the last 19 years in the Department of Statistics since 2003. He has a BA in Statistics from the IT Faculty of University for Technology, is responsible for creating and developing the database and for managing the statistical data warehouse, also coordinating the integration of data. So I would like his sorry is Ms. Jamalia.
كلية تطوير وصيانة مستودع البيانات
labor market data warehouse. Her experience includes the big statistical project to collect data and maintain the data warehouse. She is a statistical expert on a master's level since 2001 in Northern Malaysia University, and she's been working for the last 28 years in the Department of Statistics in Malaysia since 1994, November 94. It's a true pleasure for me to ask for Malaysian colleagues to take the floor and to present to us their experience. You have the floor. Ms. Jamalia and
Assalamu alaikum. Can you? Okay, all right. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning, especially to the organizers, speakers, moderators, and participants or audience from Doha.
لزملاء المتحدثين. نعرف أن الوقت مختلف.
Now is 20 minutes past 2 p.m. So it's different with Doha. And now in Doha is still early in the morning, right?
نعم بالصباح.
Okay.
الساعة 29
So I will
دقيقة.
proceed with the presentation first. And later the presentation will continue by Madam Jamalia. So first and foremost, Department of Statistics Malaysia would like to express our gratitude and appreciation for the opportunity and invitation given in this webinar. And I believe this webinar will attract the statistical community, especially with regards to data warehouse. And obviously, with the objective to provide statistical services.
هو طبعا من وجود هذا الجهاز هو توفير الخدمة الإحصائية للجمهور.
of data are very essential. One of the agenda is to manage the data with a very good system in data repository into one source. Ladies and gentlemen, I will go through the presentation entitled Modernizing Data Governing Stats DWS National Agenda. Next. So the content of the presentation covering the introduction and the architecture of Stats DW Phase 1. And to make it clear, the agenda to improve data repository in Department of Statistics Malaysia started in 2016 when we initiate the Stats Data Warehouse, namely Stats DW. Now, we are proud to have the implementation of Phase 2 Stats DW with a lot of improvement, and it will be presented by Madam Jamalia, together with the challenges, innovation impact, and last but not least, the benefit and way forward to be in line with the global agenda. Next. I'm sure everybody have heard this term, data is the new oil. Data is the new oil of the digital era. Just like oil, which worth more when it is transformed into a constructive object, likewise, data will have a much greater value when the data is processed, analyzed, and utilized efficiently and instantly. So we got to be really have continuous effort to provide effective service delivery. We have 4 issues statistical provider have to face. One is the overflow of data from various sources. Second, the technology revolution. And third, the complexity of data requests. And fourth, the environmental change. Now we agree that data is a highly valued commodity. So there is a need efficient and integrated data management, or in other words, system or framework for holistic statistical production. Not only that, there is a need for complex and granular information, and DOSM have started to share the district statistic, local authority, as well as by parliamentary. For instance, our new release for population census data. With regards to the request, in line with the digital government and public data era, there must be cost-effective data processing, structuring analysis, and handling. And with regard to environmental change, there is a need for readiness in the preparation of the latest input. And not only that, we see that social and environmental management are becoming more complex. Next. Knowing that the needs to provide statistics and to make sure the government of data is effective, the government of Malaysia introduced public sector data sharing policy, which includes the procedure data exchange that will encourage the use of API, or in other words, application programming interface. And the important things to bear in mind are about the compliance in data sharing. For instance, comply with term and agreement, and the data is used ethically. Next. To fill and respond to the need of good governance in the field of central data repository, DOSM have to play the role as a vibrant statistic provider to be relevant in this field, not only in Malaysia, but internationally recognized by other national statistic office. DOSM has embarked to produce our own central data warehouse, namely Stats DW, with the objective to consolidate and integrate statistics.
يطلقها جهاز الإحصاء لدينا من أجل ضمان تكامل هذه البيانات الإحصائية في مستودع بيانات واضح نسميه EDW.
fast and easy access to data and facilitate wide access according to user requirement and level of access permitted. Next. The objective of stats DW, besides consolidate all historical data and objective, the objective is also to enhance the quality and encourage of data through many stages in quality control of the data. Furthermore, stats DW is the central data repository for DOSM, which covers current data and future data from DOSM and selected data from other government agencies that will be consolidated, managed, maintained, and disseminated through stats DW platform. As for the motivation, way back to year before 2010, we encountered the silo scenario or a standalone database. We have seen approximate more than 2,000 soft copies and hard copies stored at various locations. Microdata stored at various subject matter division. And that's why we need a data management. And through the data management, of course, we can have a good governance of the data itself. And we can also have the data migration from other agencies. So that's why we need a good data management. And from our past experience, we know that we have a limited data warehouse appliance, which there is no business intelligence, there is no extract, transfer, and loading process, and we have no business intelligent integration with geographical information. As well as we also have the system capability that there is no integration, and the data access and proportion have a problem and a limited data storage. And that's why we have studied from the other national statistical office to have our own data warehouse. Next. There is at least 6 NSOs that we have found to really study what is the effort to have this kind of warehouse data storage. And we have studied specifically about the element of data warehouse. Data management includes microdata management and aggregated data. And from the output side, we study and take into account the visualization and lab for public uses. Among others, we have studied CanSim from StatScan, and also we have studied the stats line from the Statistics Netherlands, data warehouse from Eurostat, COSIS, Statistics Korea, Korean Information Statistical Service, from the Stats New Zealand, and from the ABS, Australian Bureau of Statistics. This is basically with regard to the study on the enhancement of data warehouse and data integration. Next. As for the stats DW journey, in 2009, we have studied the enterprise data warehouse. And in November 2014, the Department of Statistics Malaysia started the Statistic Data Warehouse Project Phase 1, which served as a local data hub. The development of Stats DW Phase 1 started in 2014 and ended on 31st December 2015. And we are go live or officially operate in 2016. The main modules developed in StatDW Phase 1 are visualization, time series, location intelligence, e-data bank, MyLab, analytics, and mobile apps. In view of the changes in the economic structure within the country and globally, as well as the rapid development of information and communication technology, a study was conducted in 2018 to improve and enhance StatsDW Phase 1. In March 2019, DOSM has developed StatsDW Phase 2 with the aim to provide a gateway to access the entire DOSM data on an interactive platform. StatsDW is ready to serve the data demands of the government and the public. Next. As depicted in this diagram, this is actually the architecture of the StatsDW Phase 1. This is actually the solution. Deliverables data will be destined directly or indirectly via ETL to the repository center. The enterprise data warehouse is actually a consolidation of various heterogeneous DOSM data sources. At the early stage, in terms of data source, we have planned to include the unstructured data, but unfortunately, due to the limitation and the capability of the system, we have not really managed to have this unstructured data, but to overcome to the related issue to unstructured data, DOSM have a new platform, namely Stats Digital, that the main focus is on the digitalization of publication and tables from old publication until the latest publication. The EDW have several processes, which are data source preparation, data profiling, data quality before extract, transform, and load into EDW. And that's the process participants can see from the data governance and data integration module. The EDW have combination of microdata, aggregate data, and staging historical data. And for the StatsDW Phase 1, the data sources only cover annual data frequency that's produced by DOSM. At that time, there is
ليس هناك عملية للتكامل بالنسبة للبيانات مع بيانات حكومية أخرى حتى يتم تضمينها في مستودعات البيانات. لذلك نحن انتقلنا إلى المرحلة الثانية، وذلك من أجل مواجهة المحدودية التي وجدناها في هيكلية البيانات.
And migrated via extract, transform, and load into data warehouse integration and migration process via ETL that involve data mapping and data profiling. Data profiling is an analysis of identified DOSM sources of data warehouse to clarify the structure, content, and related relationships and derivation rules of the data. For example, we have a setting in terms of the coding and the classification of many kinds of data, including economic data, social data, and trade data. With the profiling, it will help DOSM and project implementation not only to understand anomalies and to assess data quality, but also to discover, register, and access enterprise metadata. Data profiling and quality is performed several times through ETL processes. A profiling assessment is being done as soon as sources system have been identified. The purpose why data profiling should be undertaken is to clarify an early stage if the right data is available at the right detail level and that anomalies can be handled subsequently. In Stats DW phase 1, there is no consolidation data by years, and the data is prepared for a single year. I mean, if we have a time series data, the preparation of the data is like by years of data. It's not a time series of data. That is what we have in the phase 1 architecture. But we have improved the limitation and the architecture process in the phase 2 that we have the new structure, and we have can fulfill the consolidation data to have a very quality data warehouse system. And from this EDW, the end user application of presentation such as Stats DW e-data bank, Stats DW visualization, Stats DW time series analysis, Stats DW MyLab, Stats DW location intelligence, Stats DW analytic, and Stats DW mobile as a modules to serve the user application. From the data repository, user can use the analytic module and the lab module. And from the operational of data, we use the Netizal vision that can comprise and can be used for the modules like e-data bank, visualization, time series, MyLab, mobile apps, and etc. Next. So this is the modules that we have in the first phase of Stats DW, containing the visualization, as what I have mentioned just now, location intelligence, e-data bank, mobile apps, MyLabs, and analytics. Due to the constraint and due to the limitation from the architecture, from the first phase of Stats DW, we have the implementation of phase 2 Stats DW to cover all the limitation. As what I have said just now, in the phase 2 architecture, we can have the integration with other government agencies. We can manage to have the API. We have the metadata and the supporting document like questionnaire. We can manage to have the unstructured data, and the big evolution of the phase 2 Stats DW is we have the Hadoop system that can store many kind of data, and the repository system is we can consolidate all data through years, and many more that we have actually improvised the architecture in the Stats DW in the phase 2. And to continue the presentation of further development in the phase 2 Stats DW, I will pass to Madam Jamalia to proceed with the phase 2 development of Stats DW in Doha, Malaysia. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. I will continue the presentation. As you can see in the slide, this is Stats DW phase 2 architecture, where we aim to consolidate and integrate.
الثانية، حيث إننا سنقوم بدمج البيانات بما في ذلك مع الهيئات الحكومية الشريحة.
In TADW Phase 2, it will facilitate the strong retrieving, processing activities of data for more efficient organizing, administration, governing, and securing of dataset. The process includes the integration of data, management of data, and dissemination of data on a single platform. TADW Intelligent Ecosystem is the framework that comprises of 3 main modules, namely Smart Data Partnership, SDP, Smart Data Lake Management, SDLM, and Smart Data Communication.
As per the agenda, I will give you from 5 to 7 minutes only. Thank you.
All right. In addition, there is also management module. This data warehouse is also equipped with network security, system security, and also data security. Next slide. This is a diagram that shows the 3 main modules that will be explained further in the next slide. Next. SDP or Smart Data Partnership consists of 3 sub-modules, which are data record management, data integration management, and also SDP management module. Next slide. What are the details processed in the SDP module? In data record management, the following activities are performed: dataset registration, approval of dataset, and determination of level for data dissemination. In data exchange management, data will be reviewed and verification process will be performed. In data gateway management, data integration will be done between TADW.SIM and other government agency systems. Next slide. This is an example of SDP management module user interface, including a monitoring dashboard, dataset registration, and record layout mapping. Next slide. The function of the Smart Data Lake Management module is as follows: to store structured and also unstructured data, to facilitate the storing, retrieving, and processing activities of data, to enable user to control of data throughout its life cycle, and also to deliver better solution in preparing data, providing alert and monitoring data through dashboard. Next slide. In Smart Data Lake Management, SDLM, we have Metadata Management, where metadata input will be keyed in by subject matter division. Only query-free metadata will be uploaded in the repository. In repository management, all data sets with their metadata will be stored. In active data management, data hub will be created based on users' request. Next slide. This is an extract, transform, and load process in the SDLM module, where the data is stored, combined or merged, clean, and create a data hub. Next slide. This is an example of the Etl process for household expenditure survey data. We start with the transformation of the variable names and define variable description. Next slide. Next, data standardization is performed where the raw data for selected variables such as relationship with the head of household, gender, and ethnic group in decimal point is converted to an integer and set as a string data type. Next slide. In Smart Data Communication SDC, in fact, we have various modules, sub-modules, such as Insightful BI, where it provides table builder facility, which enable users to create table, graph, and map of the data. as well as pre-developed dashboard. In mobile discovery, we provide statistical information in an interactive graphical form through mobile device. In Virtual MyLab, it provides a data request facility where, upon approval, users are able to access the requested data set for ad hoc analysis, and users are also able to download the output. Next slide. We also have Actionable Analytics submodule where selected microdata are included here for analytical or data mining for authorized users. In Intelligent Data Launch, it for handling data requests in which users are required to come to DOSM premise. Users are bound to the procedure of the use of IDL determined by DOSM. Usage of IDL is monitored and only output without confidential information can be released from IDL. Next slide. This is an explanation for each 6 sub-module in Smart Data Communication. Next slide. This is the main or front page of the Insightful module where you can select whether you want to choose data catalog, e-data bank, data visualization, mobile discovery, virtual MyLab, actionable analytics, or intelligent data launch. Next slide. This is the user interface for Insightful BI e-data bank with table builder facility. Next slide. This is Insightful BI module, e-data bank, example for national account data. Next slide. This is Insightful BI data visualization.
Malia, just 2 minutes.
All right. This is pre-developed dashboard for national account data. Next. This is mobile discovery user interface for national account and external trade statistics. Next slide. This is a virtual MyLab user interface which provides a data request facility where upon approval, users are able to access the requested data set for ad hoc analysis, and users are also able to download the output. Next slide. We also have Actionable Analytics, which this platform, users can request data in the catalog to conduct analysis using statistical tools, either RStudio or SAS-EG. Next slide. We also have management module, which is a centralized administration system in the entire StatDW Phase 2. It covers a vast set of subsystems that are needed to monitor and manage the StatDW Phase 2 system efficiently. Next slide. We also have one super administrator to monitor and control the entire StatDW Phase 2 system. And we have 3 administrators for each module, which is SDP, SDLM, and also SDC, where they are able to monitor and control their own module. Next slide. This is the user interface for management module. Next slide. For the challenges, the production of comprehensive statistics requires cooperation and readiness of the entire ecosystem of the national statistical system. Coordination among government and non-government agencies in producing statistics and standard metadata structure remain as big challenges for us. Among the other challenges we face are on the standardization of data and metadata format, data inconsistency and incomplete metadata, legal constraint as some information are confidential, and limitation on technology capability. Next slide. The development of StatDW Phase 2, however, has given the innovation impact as follows in the slide, as shown in the slide. Next. Standardized Phase 1 also has won the 2017 Innovation Day Award. Next slide. The benefit of StatDW include provide centralized data storage center, maintaining data reliability and equality, facilitate wider access and analysis, guarantees data security, integrate system and data sharing between agencies, improve data integration, management and security, improve metadata management, facilitate development of new analytical output and product, and also facilitate National Statistical Service objectives. Therefore, for the benefit of StatDW also include making DOSM as a database-driven organization that provides data as an important reference to researchers, economists, academicians, private sector, and individuals in formulating strategic planning and as input to policy formulation. People can identify the implication of data that is being collected, analyzed, and managed, and they can take action accordingly. Next slide. The last slide. As a way forward, we aim to foster the dissemination of statistics produced by DOSM. We continuously improve the data mart, enhance the data governance, improve data harmonization for better quality data to facilitate comparability of variables, and moving toward the new standard of SDMX. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
شكرا مدام جمالية، وراح أشكرك أنت وسيد حرزي محمد نور الدين على هذا العرض المتكامل فعلا الذي بدأ في المرحلة الأولى من جمع البيانات ومعالجتها، وبالتالي في المرحلة الثانية كما ورد لاتخاذ القرارات بشكل ذكي. الآن بدي أطلب من الزميل فرانشيسكو ريزو يقدم عرض الإحصاء الإيطالي، والسيد فرانشيسكو يشارك في العديد من تطبيقات تبادل البيانات الإحصائية والبيانات الوصفية ال SDMX Statistical Data and Metadata Exchange، وفي عامي 2008 و2009 ساهم بصفته خبيراً وطنياً مستقلاً في يورستات في مشروع التعداد الأوروبي وتصميم أدوات البنية التحتية المرجعية للستاتستيكال داتا and Metadata Exchange، ويقوم في الوقت الحاضر بتنسيق عملية تطوير أدوات النشر، ويشارك في العديد من أنشطة التعاون
to the capacity building in order to reinforce the capability of other centers in order to prepare reports based on international standards. So we'd like to ask Dr. Francisco to present his presentation. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank the Planning and the Statistical Authority of Qatar for inviting the Italian National Statistical Institute to this interesting workshop. I try to share my screen. Okay. In this presentation, sorry.
في هذا العرض حاولت أن ألخص بناء على التجارب أن
This presentation is on the dissemination data warehouse. First of all, I will highlight the vision and the principles on which this implementation strategy is based. Then I will focus on technical implications. And finally, with the lesson learned, I would like to put on the table some reflections. In the introduction, Dr. Al-Naimi has spoken about data revolution. And anyway, many international important newspapers have spoken of this century as the century of the data. In recent years, information and knowledge have been recognized as a fundamental within all modern societies. In this context, official statistics will increasingly have to equip itself with an information infrastructure capable of responding to the quick and continuous evolving needs of different categories of users, citizens, politicians, researchers, journalists, etc., by offering quality information with adequate timeliness. To this purpose, ISTAT is running a modernization program. Actually, we are in the third phase of this modernization program that started in 2010, based on the guidelines of the UN Economic Commission for Europe, in particular of the high-level group for modernization of statistical production and service. In order to satisfy new demands for statistical information, produce more statistical indicators with more sectorial and territorial details, improve quality through some principles of the European quality framework, coherence, timeliness, comparability, accessibility, provide government's needs to help the formulation of the policy, not only at the national level, and also due to a reduction of financial allocation, streamline the expenses, and in this context, leveraging the ICT development that has allowed the cost reduction in production statistics and its easy accessibility and dissemination. And finally, harnessing the opportunities that internet is offering in terms of new information source and the new way of combining and using information. In few words, modernization for us means standardization and industrialization of the statistical business processes. This slide highlights the principles that have been guiding the implementation of the dissemination data warehouse, facilitating data integration and process integration, providing a streamlined infrastructure for the standardization and industrialization of the data life cycle, driving the data-centric workflow to standardize information object between different processes. I am speaking about metadata-driven approach. Increase the quality of the statistics by reducing manual transformation steps with automated and stable processes. Reducing the file dispersion on the local disk of statisticians, offering a dedicated collaborative infrastructure using databases. Overcoming the issues related to the dated technologies of the existing legacy systems by implementing a new service-based IT platform in a loose coupling architecture. This will allow to modify the modules without to change the entire platform. Offering the same platform to the organizations part of the national statistical system, implementing a distributed data warehouse in order to improve quality in dissemination. Dissemination data warehouse implementation step timelines. First of all, we analyzed different options, commercial solutions, tools available within the statistical community, and also the evolution of a prototype developed in the house. At the end, we decided to evolve the prototype and complement it with
أرجع وضع الميكروفونات على لو سمحتم. لو سمحتم.
بلش واحد ماليزي يتكلم انجليزي
Design
شوية
a suitable
هذا شكله انجليزي
لو أمان في ميوت you need to mute your mic.
اللهجة تاعو انجليزي تخطيط
somebody else.
Excuse me, we cannot hear you very well, Mr. Francisco, because there's someone else speaking.
تعرف أنا يدير على المستقبل شو بدهم
he has somebody in the ground, yes. Okay, I try to continue. Design a suitable architecture, and we decide to organize the needed building blocks as a reusable toolkit, free and open source. You will see that you can download if you want this toolkit and try to play with it. Plan migration from legacy system to the new data warehouse platform. This is the architecture that we put in place in ISTAT. You can see that everything is handled through the unified metadata system.
نظام الميتاداتا الموحد ومستودع بيانات
This is all the building blocks needs to prepare the data, to prepare the metadata, and to prepare the data. And the front office is a tool and also APIs that offer the data and metadata to for internal purpose or to the end users. The data warehouse is organized by a central repository, cross-cutting repository, and also a set of data marts for thematic, also called thematic data marts, for example, for census, external trade, territorial indicators, and so on. The end users can access the data through a data browser and also through API. Now we have more than 1,000 users that access to API daily. Then we decided to reuse the same toolkit for the National Statistical System. And we are running a project named Hub of the Public Statistics, where other national organizations are disseminating the data through this architecture. And they can decide to implement the architecture in its premises, or to have a space in ISTAT Cloud where they can use the toolkit directly in our servers. Let's see some details on the free and open source toolkit. Design and implementation principle of the toolkit. Reengineering by experience. Old version of the toolkit was used as a prototype, and we collected more than 100 feedbacks from more than 100 users through trainings and the national and international projects. The toolkit is standard-based. We used at the conceptual level for the description of the process and the information model, the GSBPM, Generic Statistical Business Process Model, and GSIM, Generic Statistical Information Model. At the implementation level, we used the SDMX standard to manage metadata and data, and also DCAT to manage data catalogs. Easy to install, plug and play. The installation doesn't require more than 20 minutes. And in general, technical skills are easy to find in statistical organizations. Easy to configure. there is a default configuration, so you install and you can run very quickly, or you can extend the configuration through the graphical user interface to the administrative console. Easy to change the brand and the localization in different languages through the CSS files and resource files. You don't have to recompile the tools, but you have just to change in the CSS files and the resource files. Adequate performance. Data rendering of a multidimensional statistical table with more than 100,000 cells in less than 10 seconds. And we have performed a benchmark with the legacy ISTAT dissemination I.stat and other tools.
ISTAT وغيرها من الأدوات المتاحة في مجال الإحصاء.
Were designed using users' suggestions. The toolkit is a set of pick and choose building blocks that can be composed in order to implement different use cases. So you can implement these use cases through features like data processing and transformation, metadata management, data management, a data browser, and representation. The toolkit is a corporate design because it incorporates a sophisticated authentication and authorization mechanism, allows assigning grants to user on specific functionalities and workflows. The toolkit was built using the SDMX source.net API developed by Eurostat and integrates some modules of the new mapping assistant web developed by Eurostat. Different scenarios can be deployed according to the specific needs, building standalone or distributed architectures. And this data warehouse was integrated with another tool, Cubes tool, that is a tool for data processing. In few words, you can use this tool in order to tabulate microdata and to prepare this microdata in format that can be loaded in the data warehouse. Furthermore, we have another transformation tool, Excel to CSV. Excel to CSV is a powerful tool. For the time being, we have the desktop application, but we are migrating in a web environment that allows to transform complex multidimensional tables in Excel in data in CSV files organized one cell in Excel, one row in the CSV file. But you can extract also from the Excel tables list of codes and related descriptions. And if you want, you can convert the Excel files in SDMX files. This is an example of a complex multidimensional table that can be managed through Excel to CSV. You can see that here codes and description can be in the same cells or in different cells. And many cells are needed in order to provide the same concept. This is another example. This example is a typical national account Excel questionnaire, where you can see that also the attributes notes, the observation status, the observation confidentiality are mixed with the figures. Then the other module is the Meta Manager. Meta Manager allows to create, read, upgrade, and delete structured metadata. The structured metadata must be created in order to publish to store the data. There are a set of utilities to manage structured metadata, like derived item schemas like code list, concept schema, category schema, merge item schema, compare item schema, compare data structure definition, upgrade DSD. And also we implemented some utilities in order to overcome some deficiencies of SDMix version 2.1. We can manage annotation for presentation purpose, and the system of two editors, one for editing reference metadata, I mean methodological and quality metadata, and another for editing DCAT catalogs, data catalogs. Then we have the data manager many features, and data managers allows to build a multidimensional data cubes based on SDMix data structure definitions. The data cubes has a physical representation in the database with an advanced database star schema synchronized with the structure metadata repository. You can map input files, for example, custom CSV files or Excel files, multidimensional statistical table, and you can load data files in Excel, CSV, SDMXML format. Logically, the loading can be done through the graphical user interface or interacting directly with the APIs. In this moment, my colleagues in charge for the output databases of the production units are interfacing the APIs in order to load directly the data warehouse. Publishing data flows as an entire cube, as a subcube of the entire cube, as a subcube with less dimensions. In this case, a new data structure definition in order to describe correctly a subcube with less dimensions is generated automatically. You can download files in SDMXML 2.0, 2.1, SDMX CSV, SDMX JSON, custom CSV, RDF data cube XML format, and the DCAT JSON for data catalogs. And the last tool, the data browser. The data browser is an application that allows to browse and analyze the data. It is used internally, but it is offered also to the end users as a graphical user interface to access the data. It can be used as an hub, so you can connect many different nodes. It is sufficient that the nodes expose APIs in SDMX format. For example, from the same application, I can interact with the API offered by United Nations Statistical Division. Or I can create many nodes for scalability reasons as or for dissemination reasons as data marts of the data warehouse. There is a very intuitive and performing search functionalities, and the presentations are obtained through main objects: table, chart, maps, and these three objects can be joined together in order to offer also dashboards. On these dissemination objects, you can impose filters to criteria. You can pivoting the table representation and the graph representation, and you can download in all the format that I highlighted before. As I said before, you can create dashboard. You can sharing presentation of table, chart, and map, and registered users can manage its own query portfolio. Now, we arrived to the last slide, lesson learned. Top manager.
على الإدارة العليا أن ترعى وأن تدعم هذه المبادرة ويجب أن تشارك فيها
in order to smooth the implementation. Monitoring can be achieved by cross-cutting working group. A suitable time must be devoted in analyzing the experience performed by other organizations. Statistical standard must be the main ingredient of the innovation. No standard, no industrialization. So the system must be based on standard in the statistical standard, for example, like SDMX. Will must not be reinvented. Reusing software available in the statistical community means save money and time. In our case, in our toolkit, we reused modules developed by Eurostat that saving us millions of lines of codes tested already. A winning design is a good balance between innovation and integration. What does it mean? It is very important to use a step-by-step approach in order to introduce the usage of the data warehouse. And the capacity building actions facilitated the knowledge of the new technology, methodology, and the technology, and the acceptance of this new data warehouse. You have a contacted links slide in case you need more information regarding metadata manager tool, data browser tool, Excel to CSV tool. You can refer to me or my colleague Alessio Cardacino. Regarding the Cube tool, to Luca Ramadori and Guido Dorvandi, you can find the emails. And also you can access to the SDMX Instant Toolkit download a GitHub page where you can download the software. And also you can experiment with our data browser regarding the permanent census of population housing or the hub of the public statistics within the National Statistical System. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope to be in the right time.
شكرا شكرا فرانسيسكو بدي اشكر كمان سيد ماسينو وزملاء فرانسيسكو على اعداد العرض المتميز والعرض الرائع. والان في مجال لاستقبال اسئله، واطلب من الزملاء اللي بيحبوا يوجهوا اسئله يذكر اسم المتحدث حتى المتحدث يكون عارف ان السؤال موجه له. فامامي على الشاشه سؤال، في معنا زميلتنا دكتور مدافي و سنة راح يتولوا هالمهمة هاي إذا أمكن. في شكر للزملاء اللي عرضوا العروض، موجود أمامي على الشاشة.
He's saying that he have
Good morning, all.
Are there any questions to the presenters?
Those who want to ask a question to the resource person, please mention the speaker's name from whom you want to answer the question. I repeat, those who wants to ask any question, please mention the speaker's name from whom you want the answer. Thank you.
Peace be upon you.
Yeah, Dr. Jamal.
My name is Amna.
Yeah, can you please type your question? Or if you want to ask the speaker directly, you can ask, you can mention the name and ask. Dr. Jamal. Ms. Amna?
Question, Doctor.
Ms. Amna?
First, I would like to thank you for this presentation.
أنا عم بسمعك.
اوكي اكمل.
كملي.
اوكي انا بدايه اشكر زملائنا في سنغافوره في ايطاليا على عرضهم لتجاربهم.
ماليزيا وايطاليا.
سوري، ماليزيا وايطاليا، على تجاربهم فعلا مهمه ان احنا نطلع عليها ويعني نستفيد منها. انا عندي بس استفسارين خاصه
Two questions, especially for our colleagues in Malaysia. The first one, what is the mechanism that they're using to connect with this mechanism? So how were they able to connect the data and integrate them between the Statistics Authority and other ministries in Malaysia? How can we connect? What is the connection way? Was there a consolidated system in the ministries connected to the Statistics Authority or what? First, that's first. Second, what principles did they rely on to choose data to be included in the database and the Statistics Authority? So what criteria did they rely on, and on which basis did they decide that we will get this type of data from the MOI to include it, Ministry of Interior to have it in the data warehouse of the Statistics Department?
Are you done, Ms. Amna? Hello. Mr. Hitsi?
Hi. Okay, maybe I can try to answer the first question regarding the mechanism and what the connection to have the consolidated system from other agencies. And from the presentation slides that has been presented by Madam Jamalia, from the phase 2 stats DW, we have integrated with the new environment in API. So before we have the API with other government agencies, and of course we have the engagement with them, and we also have the discussion regarding what is the importance to have the data from their site, and as well as we also presented to them what are the benefits of to share the API and the data that are provided by the other government agencies. And in terms of the mechanism, we have two kind of mechanism. First, we rely whether they have the API to have kind of data sharing with Department of Statistics Malaysia. And as at now, we have 3 confirmed API from the Central Bank of Malaysia, and we have API from the Meteorology Department, as well as we also have the API for the Welfare Department. So this is can help us to further improve our framework in to have the better database related to population, as well as related to the business framework or business frame. And in terms of the principle to be used and what kind of database to be included, maybe Madam G can answer the question?
Thank you for the question. How to choose what kind of data to be included in the data warehouse? Actually, in phase 1, StatDW phase 1, we only select certain statistics. But in StatDW phase 2, we consolidate all the data that available in DOSTM from various census and surveys that conducting by DOSTM, as well as we also included administrative data from other government agencies. And we open to the subject matter division to give suggestion what kind of data hub and data mart that are relevant to them. And also we try to fulfill the international main indicators that need by international organization. That is how we choose data for data hub and data mart. Thank you.
I hope, Ms. Amna, your question is answered. Next question is from another participant, Mustafa. Would like to ask a question regarding the data quality. This point was raised at least 6 times, slide 12 to 17, 40 to 45. Could you please elaborate more through few examples? Thank you. Mr. Herzi and Ms. Jamalia. Mr. Herzi, are you able to hear me?
Yang 12 ni persoalan dia tentang apa?
Yeah, I repeat the question.
Okay, the question.
Yeah, I repeat. Would like to ask a question regarding data quality. This point was raised at least 6 times from slides 12 to 17, 42 to 45. Could you please elaborate more through few examples? Thank you. Data quality.
I try to answer your question. In case to we mentioned that we try to improve harmonization for better quality data. And if you remember, we have a slide regarding extract, transform, and load, ETL. ETL is a process to transform so that the data is standardized. Before we can conduct any analysis, the data should be standardized and harmonized. From the raw data we collect, that we collect have various formats and data type. So we have to standardize the data before we can analyze and disseminate through our dissemination module.
Maybe I can add some more regarding the quality, particularly in the process of the first of phase 1 architecture stats DW. That is referring to the data profiling and data quality stage. So what is the meaning of we have to preserve the quality of the data from this process is that at the first stage, in the implementation of the stats DW, phase 1, the integration division have to actually prepare all the profiling of the data in terms of maybe, for instance, the coding that we got from all the subject matters regarding the microdata from the economic side or from the social side, as well as the aggregated data. So the first element when we want to preserve the quality of the data is that we have to actually review all the profiling activities in terms of, particularly in terms of coding, in terms of the classification that has been used by the subject matters division. And we have to harmonize all the classification and coding so that when we want to integrate all set of data, or we want to consolidate years by years, so that we don't encounter any mistakes in providing the bulk of data to the users. Thank you.
Thank you. أنا شايف عندنا سؤال من دكتور جمال وسؤال آخر من أشغال. سؤالين برفع اليد من دكتور جمال ومن أشغال ما بعرف شو الاسم بصراحة. دكتور جمال تفضل.
شكرا دكتور أحمد. بداية أشكركم على الإعداد هذا صراحة اللقاء الممتاز اللي صراحة جمعنا بزملاء من مختلف الجهات اطلاع على أفضل الممارسات، وأشكر جميع الزملاء المتحدثين من دائرة الإحصاء الماليزية ومن المعهد الوطني الإيطالي على العروض المتميزة التي قدموها. سؤالي صراحة هو بخصوص الدراسة اللي تناولها السيد حرزي محمد، وذكر بالنسبة يعني الهاصات يعني خاصة بإنشاء المستودع البيانات إن كان هناك في دراسة معيارية تناولت يعني أفضل الممارسات. فياريت
that have been undertaken. Can he talk about the nature of the study and the component that he concentrated on in the study and the outcomes of the study? Thank you very much.
Dr. Shamal, your question is for who?
Thank you. With regard to the study that has been taken by the DOSM, particularly when we want to have our own data warehouse, actually the studies or the pre-development for the data warehouse is, I would say, way back to into 2009, where we have undergo the enterprise data warehouse study, and from that we also have a benchmark study with at least 6 statistical organizations, and at that time in 2012 to 2014, the basic needs of the study is very much related to have a very good data management and data warehouse. And at first, in the phase 1 stats DW, we only focus on our local environment. For example, from the repository, the data that has been stored in the repository is only data that produced by the Department of Statistics Malaysia. So that's why for the phase 2, we embark to further explore, and we have managed to have the Hadoop in our repository that can manage to have a structured and unstructured data, and of course in a very big capacity, so that from the I would say from the first intention to have a data warehouse and data management, and we move forward to have a more data integration and more data cube and more data marts to be in line with the global agenda in data warehouse system. Thank you.
Are you done, Mr. Hedri? We are moving to another question by Mr. Paul. Hello.
Hello.
Mr. Hedri.
Hello. Yeah.
We are moving to another question. How did you overcome the issue of variable master data and reference standards for common data elements across different data contributors? Who decided the data standards to be used? Shall I repeat, Mr. Hedri?
Could you repeat, please?
I repeat, how did you overcome the issue of variable master data and reference standards for common data elements across different data contributors? Who decided the data standards to be used? Please. Thank you.
For your information, DOSM has their own data micro dissemination standard. We also have various reference manual and guidelines to be followed in terms of data quality in DOSM. So that DOSM will decide the data quality with reference from international organization. Thank you.
سوري الآن لو سمحتوا بدنا ناخذ بريك إذا ممكن بنرجع 10:45. بحب أنبه إنه إحنا لازم ننتهي على الساعة 12. ف10:45 إذا أمكن بنرجع للسيشن، وبدي أشكر المحاضرين اللي قدموا العروض، وبنفس الوقت كل الزملاء اللي سألوا الأسئلة والزملاء اللي أجابوا على هاي الأسئلة، وشكرا لكم.
There is one more question, two more questions for. There are two more questions, Mr. Hedri. Hello.
Hi, sorry.
There are two more questions for you, Mr. Hedri. In the presentation, the presentation given by colleagues from Malaysia, it appears that pre-development phase started in 2009 and phase 2 completed by 2021. Is it so? It's just a concern, it seems. I'll move to another question. Hello, are you able to hear me, Mr. Hajri? Yeah, I'll move to the next.
They just said that they are going on a break.
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم.
كل الشكر لصبركم. الآن نستأنف أعمالنا في النصف الثاني من حلقة العمل. حاب أقول شيء إنه نحن ملتزمين على الساعة 12 لازم ننهي هذه الحلقة. الأسئلة اللي ما تم الإجابة عليها من الممكن تبعتوها على الإيميل لزميلتنا سناء، ممكن نبعثها للسادة المحاضرين حتى يتم الإجابة عليها. الآن أنا أمامي يعني خلينا نبدأ ونقول الآن بتوجه بسؤالي للسيدة لطيفة. السيدة لطيفة قال أنت جاهزة هلا؟
نعم معك دكتور.
جاهزة ها؟ لكن أو قبل ما نبدأ بدي أعطي فكرة للحضور الكريم إنه السيدة لطيفة جابر المري هي حالياً تشغل وظيفة خبير قواعد بيانات وذكاء الأعمال بإدارة الشؤون الفنية بوزارة الداخلية، وسبق لها أن عملت كأخصائي تطبيقات ثم ترقت إلى رئيسة قسم مستودع البيانات المركزي بجامعة قطر، ولها خبرة تفوق 10 سنوات في مجال ذكاء الأعمال وما يشتمل عليه من خبرات تتعلق بمجالات مستودع البيانات المركزي وتحليل واسترجاع المعلومات وعلوم البيانات. السيدة لطيفة المري حاصل على شهادة الماجستير والبكالوريوس في مجال علوم الحاسوب من جامعة قطر، ونالت العديد من الشهادات العالمية في مجال الذكاء والأعمال، كما ساهمت في تطوير وإدارة العديد من المشاريع المتعلقة ببناء أعمال وأنظمة دعم اتخاذ القرار في المؤسسات التي عملت بها. الآن إذا لو سمحتي ممكن تتفضلي، لكن مثل ما قلت تحاولي قدر الإمكان الاختصار عشان نعطي كمان وقت للأسئلة. تفضلي زميلتنا لطيفة في عرضك.
السلام عليكم وشكرا مبدئيا على إتاحة الفرصة. راح أشارك معكم اليوم في عرض قصة نجاح تطبيق مشروع أنظمة دعم اتخاذ القرار في وزارة الداخلية، أو ما اسميناه ب Business Intelligence Decision Support System BIDSS. مبدئيا راح أشرح لكم مسؤوليات إدارة الشؤون الفنية اللي حاليا أعمل فيها. تقع تحت إدارتنا مراكز بيانات متعددة، وعلى أساسها طبعا شبكات مختلفة. تدعم هذه المراكز أكثر من 126 خدمة مختلفة، بعضها 3 منصات إلكترونية، وهي تخدم أكثر من 2.5 مليون مستخدم داخل قطر من مواطنين ومقيمين. وأيضا لدينا أكثر من 100 موقع أو خدمة لأكثر من 10,000 مستخدم بوزارة الداخلية. فكما ذكر السيد محمد النعيمي في بداية الحلقة، كمية البيانات وتطورها يتحتم علينا إنشاء بيئة ذكاء أعمال أو وما يشمل عليه من مستودع بيانات مركزي. بشكل سريع راح أعرض لكم المشاريع اللي بعض المشاريع تحت الإدارة، منها نظام التعرف بالوجوه الفيشل ريكوجنيشن سيستم، البوابات الإلكترونية، وأيضا استعدادات البلاد لكأس العالم. نظام دعم اتخاذ القرار اللي راح أفصله في هذه العرض، مركز الأنظمة الأمنية الموحد، وتطبيق احتراز اللي طبعا أعتقد كلكم عارفينه في دولة قطر، تطبيق لجائحة كورونا. فمثل ما تلاحظون كمية البرامج وكمية البيانات تحتمت علينا بناء مشروع دعم اتخاذ القرار. مبدئيا راح أشرح الوضع قبل مشروع دعم اتخاذ القرار والصعوبات اللي كانت تواجه المستخدمين. كان هناك دائما حاجة إلى تجميع البيانات من أنظمة مختلفة، ومثل ما شرحت عندنا أكثر من 200 نظام داخل وزارة الداخلية. هذا الشيء يرفع نسبة الخطأ في نقل البيانات وتحليلها، وأيضا يسبب تأخير في إعداد التقارير والإحصائيات لمتخذي القرار. فأي متخذ قرار ممكن يحتاج إلى بيانات لحظية وآنية، قد يأخذ بعض الوقت من الإحصائيين لتجميعها وإعطائها له. لم يكن هناك قدرة على تنبؤ أو استشراف المستقبل، وأيضا كان هناك صعوبة في تدقيق الإجراءات واكتشاف أخطاء إدخال المستخدمين في الأنظمة المختلفة بالوزارة. وأيضا لم يكن هناك قدرة على التحليل الجغرافي في الأنظمة. الهدف كان من المشروع هو تزويد صناع القرار بوزارة الداخلية بمعلومات شاملة ودقيقة من خلال تطبيق أدوات تحليلية وتنبؤية، وأيضا ركزنا على تأهيل كوادر قطرية ضمن آلية عمل منظمة وواضحة. المشروع بدأنا به من 2016 على عدة مراحل. ركزنا أن احنا نحاول أن ننجح بالمراحل، أو مثل ما ذكر الدكتور أحمد حسين، ركزنا على داتا ماركس أو بيانات معينة في كل مرحلة. المرحلة الأولى ركزنا على البيانات المرورية، وفي سنة 2018 ركزنا على البيانات الأمنية، بعد أن أتممنا بنجاح استكمال تدريب وتأهيل كوادر البيانات المرورية. وبنفس الطريقة أنهينا المرحلة الثانية وانتقلنا إلى مرحلة الجوازات. بعد ما أنهينا هذه الثلاث مراحل، طبعا طبيعة البيانات والأنظمة في تزايد وتغير، فالاستمرارية موجودة إلى الآن، ولا زلنا نضيف ونعدل على الأنظمة ومستودع البيانات الموجود. الآلية اللي اتخذناها أن احنا جمعنا بيانات الوزارة وأي بيانات أخرى، وبنينا أنظمة تحتية وأنظمة تحليل وتنبؤ، بالإضافة إلى تنمية القدرات البشرية، وأنشأنا نظام دعم اتخاذ القرار. النظام يساعد في قياس الأداء وكفاءة العمل، دراسة وتحليل البيانات واستشراف المستقبل، وعليه يتيح النظام الفرصة لمتخذي القرار سرعة الوصول للمعلومات واتخاذ قرارات مبنية على أسس علمية.
Decisions based on scientific bases, and also to take proactive decisions and not act in a reactionary way. So how did we standardize the sources of data in general? As you can see, we have different systems here in the Ministry of Interior. And this is just to give you an example. We have accumulated all such data in a data depository, which is central. And based on that, we were able to make the decision makers use them for their decision. We were able to standardize the sources of data, and based on that, we were able to reinforce the quality of such data. We were able to extract the sources and very quickly. And also we reinforced the ability of data analysis and also to get to know the different trends and also to have the best way as to how to use the resources and how to distribute these resources. So the program was able to contribute as to how to have an optimum distribution of resources. And also the ability to distribute bad data. So this program includes 4 components, linkages, and also smart linkages, and also big data. And also we have 3 effective systems, and I'm going to present to you some of those results and outcomes. There are many challenges that we face and that we are able to overcome, such as the presence of data in many systems and also the difficulty of gathering such data. So the system was able to unify the data
نوعا ما، لكن البرنامج دعم اتخاذ القرار وفر
enabled us to have all the data instantly. So there were a number of restrictions that we faced, and that is why we prepared a separate environment for it not to impact the work that we're carrying out. And as we have mentioned before, we were able to do that.
للمستخدمين آليات في البرنامج لمتابعة الإجراءات وجودة البيانات. بعض الإنجازات التي قمنا بها في أنظمة دعم اتخاذ القرار: القدرة على عرض المعلومات المختلفة بمصدر موحد وبشكل لحظي، توفير لوحات متابعة لمتخذي القرار تبين الوضع الحالي لأي بيان، وتقريبا عندنا أكثر من 150 لوحة متابعة لمستخدمين مختلفين.
The current status, and we have a lot of those monitors. We were able to follow up on the performance indicators immediately and electronically, and expeditious periodic report migration or extraction actually within minutes instead of weeks as it used to be before. We were able to save time to conduct the analysis and analytical studies instead of extracting data. So now they have time for studies instead of gathering the data, coordinating them, and transferring them. It also helped improve the data quality. We were also able to train an Qatari cadres when it comes to forensic security analysis. Some may wonder, what were those elements that contributed to the success of this program? First, achieving fast results of high importance. As you've noticed, this project started and was completed over different phases. We were keen on having every phase completed in a successful manner, and we would verify that the users were able to use them before we move to another achievement. We allowed the users from building data and reports. There were also very good and skilled candidates from all parties and stakeholders, and they were the main contributor to our success. They helped us identify the requirements and to categorize the data. There was also cooperation at different levels amongst the candidates. We were also able to follow up on the continuous amendments and additions to all the different systems, and this helped with the success of the project. As you know, it's such a continuously and fast developing domain, so we have to be able to always stay up to date with the latest developments, and doing that helped with the success. I'm going to quickly review the different components I mentioned of the project so that you take an idea. It's going to revolve around experimental data, but I'm going to start with the interactive maps. The interactive map system allows the analysis using maps. So using experimental data, you can see the map which shows specific incidents in Qatar. Color coded, of course. Another component, the business intelligence, which is building reports and statistics. I will present to you a follow-up screen that includes experimental data, for example, traffic data. So it showcases as you see before you, the number of accidents or incidents a day, the types of those incidents, are they simple or serious? There's also more details in the middle of the specific death, where they are geographically located, for example, and how they are spread out in terms of traffic departments. And on the left, you can see the violations that were recorded, the number of vehicles, etc. I'm going to clarify to you quickly, Don, how the users build a quick report immediately. For example, I'm going to show you the centralized data warehouse in the Ministry of Interior with all the different data. For example, we will consider that we are users who want to see the number of accidents a year. This used to take from the users a lot of time and a lot of effort. So we can see quickly how with the click of a button, I can extract the data, and I can also set I can break them down according to how serious this incident is. I was able to get a quick comparison between the 2 years in terms of how serious the accident is. And this has helped the users tremendously when it comes to the decision-making system. Last, I'm going to explain to you this linkage system. It analyzes the typologies and the links between the different stakeholders from the centralized data warehouse. We can create different linkages in this linkage system. The strength of the system is that it helps extract those links for different entities, for cars, for individuals, for crimes, etc. It allows the users to discover any relations between different entities. The main users are the security investigators and the MOI. Some of the contributions of this linkage system, the software or this program has become a main tool in their daily work, and it has contributed to revealing different criminal networks. And I've worked with different departments in the ministry on those outputs, such as the Drug Enforcement Department and the Forensic Search Department. The program was able to reveal many criminal attempts related to security reports, and it allowed identifying people who are anonymous. So these are the main contributions and the main achievements and successes of this system. And as such, thank you so much for this presentation.
استخداماتها واتخاذ القرارات بشأنها. والآن طبعا راح يكون في أسئلة بعد ما مس ميرنا تقدم بعرضها. الآن
So we have with us Ms. Mirna Malab right now, who is a data and AI expert in Microsoft Qatar. She leads digital transformation strategic programs for government entities to add value to the customers and to help them optimize the use of technology for very effective strategies. Ms. Rima Malab, you have the floor. And you know that after the presentation,
12 إلا ربع راح يكون عندنا بقية الأسئلة والختام الساعة 12 إن شاء الله. شكرا لك، تفضلي.
شكرا كثير دكتور أحمد. السلام عليكم جميعا. it's a great opportunity to be part of this webinar today, and amazing content has been presented by everyone. So thanks a lot again for this great opportunity. So statistics authorities today, they have data coming from multiple sources across different data domains. We have data related to human, data related to social, related to economics and environmental, and sometimes, and many more, right? So sometimes the source of this data is a variant. It comes from different data sources at different shapes and formats. And what we have seen in organizations as the challenges for data dissemination is basically, first of all, data silos. So we have data stored in different systems. Throughout the years, the data might be catered in different databases, in different structure, in different format. So data silo comes at the first challenge when it comes to data dissemination process. Another kind of challenge is the incongruent data types. So again, this data might be structured and unstructured. It can be stored in tables, it can be an image, it can be a video, an audio. So data can be collected and stored in different formats and different types of files. Another challenge when it comes to data accessibility, and this is a core challenge. So how are people accessing this data? Is it easy to access this data, to request reports, to build your dashboards and analytics? Slow time to market. So are we able to build our dashboards on the spot immediately? As a few requirements that came from the minister immediately or the president, are we able to act on it in real time and build this in a fast time to market? Performance constraints, especially when it comes to leveraging AI. Now that we need to build lab planning, leveraging machine learning, artificial intelligence, we might be faced with performance constraints and challenges when being able to scale with the data and having high compute capabilities. And of course, complexity of solutions. So having this data in different systems, in different databases, it adds the challenge of people having to know different technologies, requiring different expertise, different skill sets. So today you need to have lots of people that know lots of things. So this will add complexity on the solution itself, which all of this will result in rising costs. So today, how is Microsoft Data Platform helping organizations such as the statistics authorities resolve these challenges? First of all, by building a single hub that hosts all this data. So what you want to do is basically consolidate all of this data coming from multiple sources in a single data platform that supports different data types. As I said, this data can be structured and unstructured. We will improve access for data. So how are users requesting access to the data? Who has access to what? This kind of data accessibility and governance. Fast time to market, unlimited scale, data scale. So when we're talking cloud, we are talking about an unlimited data scalability, being able to scale out with your data immediately as you go, with a definitely familiar tools and ecosystem. And this is where I'll walk you through our services for you to know how are we providing a unified service that allows you to do all of this in a single solution at definitely lower TCO. So all of these capabilities are supported on-premise, hybrid, and on the cloud as well. So what is Microsoft's approach towards a modern data platform? I've put together some kind of a high-level architecture to walk you through the process. So first, as I said, the data can be anything. It can be log files, it can be media content, it can be images, it can be documents, PDF, it can be archive, it can be Oracle, SQL, regardless what is the source of the data or the provider of this data. We ingest this data, we store it in a data lake. So Azure Data Lake Storage, it's the easiest, cheapest way of storing data, putting all of this data together, preparing it. We leverage Azure Synapse for the preparation, for the modeling and enrichment. So we model this data, we leverage within this process itself, Azure Machine Learning, our cognitive services. We have native integration to AI at this point so that we enrich this data. We extract the metadata out of it. We do our models, do our transformation, and then serve it. So when we are serving this data, basically, it can be served as in data sets so that users by specific data domains can access this data, build their reports, do their analytics story. And we can definitely as well provide a 360 view for the management, for the president, for the ministry, to have a full view on what's happening and across all KPIs. We can serve it as statistical data files, as CSV files, as PDF, Excel file, whatever kind of file format of your interest. And we can serve this, of course, and extract the metadata. So on the dashboard that I have, I need to be able to understand where is this data coming from, provide description on the data, who is owning what, who's access to what, this data is coming from which table, have all these kind of questions answered to me, so that we are able finally at the last step to disseminate this data. And the dissemination process can be many, right? It can be an analytical dashboard where users can navigate, do filter out, drill down, drill up, have a 360 view across their data. It can be integrated within an application for your internal CRM or portal. It can be on your website. It can be through a chatbot where users can query this data and retrieve on the portal, for example, for PSA, if I want to inquire about statistics that has been done at specific point in time, I can, with a chatbot, I can query that and have it in real time. It can be as a service. So today, statistical authorities across the world, basically, several entities depend on their data, whether it's education, whether it is the labor, whatever. All these entities, basically, they require data from this authority itself. So today, this authority can provide this data as a service and provides integration to share this data across different entities. All of this is basically done with a completely governed platform with Azure Purview. It is our service for data governance that provides data discovery, classification, and data lineage, so that you'll be able to know from the source till the output what is happening with your data, who is accessing what, where this data is being used. Is it compliant? Is it as per your regulations and security and policies that you have in place? So this is where the governance falls in place throughout all of this process. And definitely, as I mentioned, today we have several ways to support sharing this data. It can be using our data share service. It can be with an API through our API management services or through our Azure pipelines to provide access to this data as well. As you have seen in this architecture, basically, we have Azure Synapse as a core component in every stage. And this is where I was referring to a unified experience for all of these steps or all of these parts of the architecture. So today, Azure Synapse lies at the core of this modern data warehouse solution that you're offering. It provides integration, native integration across all of your data sources, whether it's structured or unstructured. It provides data warehouse and data lake capabilities in a single service where you can query your structured and unstructured data together. An analytical platform where you can leverage SQL to store your structured data, and you can query your big data unstructured using Spark clusters. All of this in a very easy to use studio where users can build their data pipelines, transformation, their enrichment, everything within clicks without having to write lines of code. It's a very easy to use service with a friendly user interface. Okay, and of course, all of this is governed with Purview. And the service itself within Synapse directly, you do not have to access different services. Within the service, you have access to Azure Artificial Intelligence Services, which is Azure Machine Learning Service, Azure Cognitive Services, and you can make your own within notebooks with Python code if needed. So all of these capabilities are provided today with Azure Synapse. In brief, Azure Synapse provides limitless scale. So it caters for your structured and unstructured data, terabytes of data, petabytes of data at scale. It provides powerful insights. It has native integration with Power BI directly, so you can build your dashboards on the spot without having to close, use Power BI or use different tools. And it provides a unified experience for users so that your data engineers, your data analysts, your business users, your database admins, all of these people, important people in your organizations can leverage this service. They do not have to work in different tools. They will have their specific areas of specialty that they can use directly in Synapse. It provides converged analytics in an unmatched security. So here, all of this is highly secured within Azure Cloud in an unmatched security and governance area. So what is our roadmap towards a dissemination platform, and why are we doing all of this? So for us, basically, and I believe as well for the Statistics Authority, we are building this to be able at the end to monetize data, right? We want to achieve data monetization. And when we talk about data monetization, it comes in two different formats. It can be direct and indirect. So today we have this amazing data sets. We have this amazing analytical platforms. How are we able to serve it to the entities? Okay, so this is maybe selling this data, maybe providing this data. So here we are using it as a service. So I'm sharing this data with other entities, other organizations, etc. Or I'll be able to monetize it indirectly by leveraging the insights, the planning ahead of time to be able to save costs, limit the fraud, reduce waste, and do all of these planning and AI scenarios that will help me save money for the government at the end through our AI planning engine. And again, we want to emphasize on the power and the importance of security and governance to make sure all of this is highly secured within your full control, okay, and the access on data. So basically, again, how does data monetization help and where do you want to reach? So after we have built the foundation, which is a data platform that caters for all of your data, that provides insights, enrichment, and analytics, we need to have an AI engine that basically does the planning so that we can be able to answer questions like, what is the effect of immigration policies on demographic decomposition? So that the human development or the human, the people domains who are responsible on human development will have answers to these questions on the spot. The social development department will be able to answer questions like how many new schools to open and where, predict the number of new physicians and nurses needed. So everything related to these kind of questions when it comes to planning, they'll be answered on the spot. The economic development will be able to predict water electricity consumptions, will be able to answer questions like, what is the effect of increased economic activity over the required workforce? So all these kind of advanced analytical questions will be made available for users on the spot with an AI secured engine. And of course, the environmental development when it comes to sustainability KPIs, when it comes to predicting climate changes, predicting water supply and demand, these will be as well available for all users across departments to answer on the spot. So I tried to make it as straight to the point as possible, basically, and deliver the message of what is important now. So building this data warehouse is a foundational step, but what we need to focus on as well is all the analytics and AI capabilities that come as an output of this platform. So from my side, I came to an end of this presentation and happy to take your questions. I guess we are good in time. I try to make it a bit fast so that we can hear from the attendees with us on the call if they have any questions to ask. Dr. Ahmed?
Thank you, Ms. Mirna. It's indeed more insightful. Yeah, we have some questions here. I read the question. This question is for Ms. Latifa.
Yes.
How accessible are these types of dashboards to the public, and to what extent would their availability is for public? I was trying to get additional breakdown from the latest population report breakdown by age and nationality, but the data was not available on the website and required some level of approval process to go through. Can you please suggest on this?
Right.
I'm sorry, Wallah.
If you are talking about...
sorry.
تفضل دكتور.
يلا سوري، انا يبدو اني كنت عامله ميوت. يعني انا فعلا شكرت مس ميرنا على عرض المتميز، وقلت انه ما عرض فعلا كان يتوافق مع الريسيرش الذي انا قمت به مع العديد من بلدان المتقدمه. فضروره فعلا بناء
developed countries, it's necessary to build a data lake storage, which includes all types of data structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. And from that lake, we can build a data warehouse. And from that, we can get the data mark. This is what I was thinking of. So I have to say that in this workshop, we were able to get to respect gender sensitivities. We allowed women to express their creations and innovations here.
لا سيدة لطيفة وسيدة ميرنا، وكما أشرت في البداية ممكن الموجه للسؤال يذكر لمين عم بيوجه السؤال. بعدها بعد ما ننتهي من الإجابات على عروض السيدة ميرنا وسيدة لطيفة، بعدين إذا تبقى عندنا وقت ممكن ناخذ بقية الأسئلة اللي
لطيفة
وبعدين على الساعة 12 لازم الجميع يظهر على الشاشة عشان ناخذ سناب شوت لصور المشاركين أو بعضهم، حتى نقدر نبني ما يسمى بالفاينل ريبورت. بالفاينل ريبورت فعلا اللي بدنا نقوم فيه، بدنا كل هالكلام الحلو
And consequently, it is possible in the future that we would be able to use this report in order to build the central database that we are meeting over. So now we have come to the question session. If you have any questions. There was a question that was posed in English.
This question is to Ms. Latifa.
Yes.
How accessible are these types of dashboards to the public, and to what extent would their availability for the public? Can you please clarify about this?
Yes. For now, most of our data is accessible for MOI users only. There are a couple of dashboards accessible by the Prime Minister or the Emir, but this is based on request. And we do have sessions or meetings to help any other institutions in Qatar to establish their own data warehouse and analytical systems. But for now, the data is available for MOI users.
There is other part of the question. Is this data available without any approvals and processes?
We have our own internal processes.
How long does it take? Approximately.
For which?
For the,
Sorry, can you clarify the question?
Yeah, for the approval. Does it take too long to have the approval?
No, it can be done on the same day.
Thank you. There is another question, Ms. Latifa.
Yes.
How frequent the data gets synchronized from the production database?
Yes, most of our data is synchronized instantly, let's say with a margin of 5 minutes. So unless otherwise requested. So approximately over 95% of the data is instantly refreshed.
شكرا. في سؤال بالعربي عبد الرحمن مشوح من خبير من إدارة مشاريع هيئة أشغال سأل ما هي الحلول المستخدمة لعرض البيانات عبر لوحة الأداء؟
أشكر الأخ عبد الرحمن، لكن إذا أنا فهمت السؤال أعتقد يمكن يقصد مؤشرات الأداء. إذا كان هذا المقصود، نحن استعنا بالمستودع البيانات المركزي لإجراء الإحصائيات المتعلقة بمؤشرات الأداء بشكل لحظي. فيستطيع أي إدارة، أو بالأخص كان عندنا إدارة التخطيط، تستطيع أن تتابع مؤشرات الأداء لكل البيانات المتعلقة بها. يعني على سبيل المثال مؤشرات الأداء المرورية، عدد الحوادث، وهل المؤشر زاد أو نقص. فهذا الموضوع المؤشرات نحن نقوم بحسابها بشكل أوتوماتيكي في مستودع البيانات المركزية، وبنينا عليها لوحة متابعة يستطيع الدخول إليها المستخدمين لمتابعتها.
شكرا أستاذة لطيفة، يعطيك العافية. There is another question for Ms. Myrna. So could you please elaborate on data privacy and how the design can take care of this crucial element?
All right, thank you. So definitely to start with, today Azure complies with many external privacy standards, laws and regulations when it comes to GDPR, specific ISO compliance, and several other important compliance privacy standards. In addition, as well, I'm very happy to announce with you today that we have achieved a great milestone by becoming the first cloud provider, global cloud, to be certified by the National Cybersecurity Agency. So what that means is basically completing this NIA certificate comes as part of our uncompromising commitment to live up to the security requirements of the state of Qatar and be able to serve our customers in a highly secured platform. So this is one. Second, when it comes to the actual architecture design, there are several ways where we can secure, if we want to say, the platform. When it comes to the deployments, everything can be deployed, if we can say, in a private endpoints with a specific and high-level security in place. And of course, today with our innovative security services, when it comes to as well data governance and classification as implemented throughout all of this journey and as a crucial part of this architecture, we make sure that this data is secured on the cloud. And not only that, by other than that's encrypted in transit and at rest, and within the security protocols and highest standards, we access, of course, and we can limit and identify who has access to what, apply security restrictions and access controls on the data throughout all of this process. I hope that I've been able to answer this question.
Thank you, Ms. Myrna. Rodina, hopefully your answer been questioned by Ms. Myrna. So for Dr. Ahmed, there is a question لسؤال جهاز الإحصاء. ما هو المتوقع من المشاركين في هذه الحلقة؟
المتوقع، نحن فعلا وجهنا الدعوات للوزارة.
Also, we sent invitations to the different ministries and relevant agencies because we wanted them to be part and parcel of the data warehouse and the building of the data warehouse, because when we have these the data linkage that we referred to at the beginning, and the statistics authority, when it carries out field work or through the internet or through the different opinion polls it carries out, it does that for it to be able to get more information and also to be able to cooperate with the audience and the public. As we have mentioned, that the building of the data warehouse, this is a process that requires all sources of data. We need to have an integration whereby we'll be able to integrate all data together. And this can be carried out at the level of microdata. When we get data from the Ministry of Education, so we carry out opinion polls and also surveys. All such information and data can be integrated through a time series where we would be able to see the level of development. When it comes to the data warehouse, after having access to the achievements that have been made by many countries, it was clear to me that decision makers are not going to be interested in statistical tables. No, what is important for them is the indicators that we can get from such micro data. So when we give large tables about, let's say, people that are born, how many have been born, and also depending on the age group of mothers and fathers and the geographical area where they live, which zone, which municipality. So the use of such data would be very limited, but when we give them the total fertility rates depending on a period of time, then decision makers would be able to usefully use such data. So when we talk about the total fertility rate, or when we talk about any other kind of pieces of information, so for instance, mothers between 2024, how many children she gave birth to, and so on. So when we talk about data mart, so this is a product that is specialized, dedicated to decision makers for them to take the decisions. We talk about ministers of public health, of labor, and so on. Such information would be important for them. So access to such information is going to help us for the data would be of great value.
warehouse. هذا اللي عندي أنا.
شكرا
في سؤال
دكتور
آخر ممكن تفضلوا.
شكرا دكتور أحمد. إن شاء الله عبد الرحمن يكون دكتور أحمد جاوب على سؤالك. في سؤال موجه للأستاذة لطيفة، كيف يمكن الاطلاع على بيانات وزارة الداخلية؟
طبعا مثل ما ذكرت سابقا البيانات محصورة تقريبا بوزارة الداخلية ومكتب رئاسة الوزراء، لكن بالتأكيد يعني يمكننا نتعاون على حسب المتطلبات. الأشخاص ممكن يتواصلون معي بشكل مباشر وممكن نشوف الآلية بإذن الله.
أنا عندي تعليق بسيط راح أقول إنه إحنا قاعدة البيانات مستودع البيانات اللي بدنا نبنيه لازم يظهر للجمهور، للمتخصصين وغير المتخصصين، ياخذوا الداتا اللي بدهم إياها بدون ما يكون عندهم تدريب متقدم. يعني هاي الداتا هي ملك أو للمنفعة العامة، public good، ممكن يستفيد منها أي شخص. لذلك إحنا المخرجات اللي لازم تكون من مستودع البيانات اللي عم نطمح له إنه تكون سهل الاستخدام، ذكي، بحيث إنه يوفر لكل أنواع من المستخدمين. كل مستخدم عنده اهتمام مختلف. إذا بعد عندنا أسئلة من ما سبق، بعد عندنا شوية وقت، ممكن تتوجه للزملاء. فرانسيسكو إذا كان عنده أسئلة ممكن نطرحوها سناء ومديفي.
Thank you, Doctor. And now there is a question for Mr. Francisco. They're asking about project management and level of involvement from other government partners. Mr. Francisco, are you available?
Is it a question for me?
Yeah,
could you repeat the question to Francisco?
Yeah. I need to ask about project management and level of involvement from other governmental partners.
Yes. The project of the public statistics that involves other governmental institutions is managed under the annual National Statistical Program. This is the conceptual, let's say in this way, that document that drives the dissemination of other institutions. What is declared in the annual statistical program, national annual statistical program, means that datasets of quality with a certain level of quality. From a technical point of view, the management of the program is performed directly by the National Statistical Institute, helping the other institutions to implement the methodological steps in order to disseminate the data. I mean, mainly the data modeling activities following a standard methodology. In this case, the SDMX information model and methodologies. I don't know if I answered to the questions.
ثانك يو. سؤالي جوابي لاخ عبد الرحمن يبدو انه بيشتغل في الداتا، يبدو انك داتا ساينتست. ففعلا سوري، فيما يتعلق بالخطه الزمنيه اعتقد انه جهاز التخطيط والاحصاء راح يكون عنده خطه زمنيه لتنفيذ هذا المشروع بشكل سنوي يعني، وبالتالي هذا المشروع ينال دعم حكومي عالي. فبتصور انه يكون في خطه زمنيه، لانه فعلا الداتا انتجريشن من مصادر متعدده، مصادر مختلفه، حتى نقدر نستخرج منها المؤشرات، ومن هون كمان ممكن اقول مؤشرات اجنده التنميه المستدامه 2030 اللي هي 230 حوالي 232 مؤشر. فالعمل على ادماج، خليني اقول، مؤشرات اجنده التنميه المستدامه المتوفره مع سلاسلها الزمنيه فيما يسمى مستودع البيانات، هذا عمل كثير هام. ليش؟ لانه احنا من خلاله ممكن نتبع المسافه بيننا وبين تحقيق اهداف اجنده التنميه المستدامه اللي هن 17 هدف و132 غايه او مقصد. فهذا كلامي يا عبد الرحمن، واشكرك على سؤالك.
دكتور لو سمحت عندي استفسار إذا ممكن.
تفضلي.
بالنسبة الحين للجهات الحكومية، هل في متطلبات منها مطلوب منها تجهز نفسها لقاعدة البيانات عند البدء بإنشائها، من ناحية مثلا تجهيز معلومات معينة أو توفر برامج
to have certain programs within certain places, or is the scope not very clear?
صدد وضع كل هاي الاشياء اللي عم بتقولي عنها في وثيقه، وبالتالي بدء العمل التنفيذي. يعني الان من جهاز التخطيط والاحصاء بده يقوم باسسمنت لكل هاي وبالفعل احنا الكلام اللي تفضلوا فيه المحاضرين يعني انا شخصيا تعلمت منه اشياء كثير، بالاضافه للريسيرش اللي انا عملته والقراءات على مدار 3 شهور فعلا. فاصبح لدي وضوح كامل عن هذا الموضوع. مرة ثانية أشكر عبد الرحمن يعني. أوكي تفضلوا كمان إذا في أي سؤال آخر بعد عند الزميلات يعني يوجهوه للسادة المحاضرين.
نعم دكتور فيس. There is a question for the team from Malaysia.
Okay, good.
What are the main data integration challenges and how to deal with unstructured data like emails, PDF files, etc.?
Is this for me or for the
team Malaysia
presenter?
And Mr. Francisco, both.
Okay, good. To Francisco.
Mr. Francisco?
The question is for you.
Yes, but I haven't listened to the English translation.
Okay, can I repeat?
Yes, please.
What were the main data integration challenges and how to deal with unstructured data like emails, PDF files, etc.?
No, what I presented is a dissemination data warehouse. it means that we disseminated the statistical tables. In this context, the only integration and the transformation is from statistical data source like Excel, something that I presented during my presentation, or data coming from the output databases of the production units. In this context, the other national organizations they have their own output databases that are already structured, and the only thing that they have to perform is to expose using our toolkit their data already organized in a database through an API. So the data are not stored in our servers in the sense that what we implemented at the national level is a distributed data warehouse where data can be stored in our clouds, but with different tenants for each country, or directly in their premises in their databases.
Thank you, Mr. Francisco. There is a question from Rudaina. She asked a really specified question for Myrna. So I would ask Rudaina if you could open your mic, unmute yourself, and just clarify this question to Ms. Myrna if you like. Otherwise, we can just read your question.
No worries. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Can
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. It's Radwan from the Ministry of Education and Higher Education in Qatar. I'm just concerned about one item, which is, of course, the privacy of data. So people are very, very concerned if they don't know what the other party, the consumer, will do with their data. Specification of the data, of course, entitles the supplier to request some sort of an SLA, of a service level agreement between the supplier and the consuming party to know exactly what they do with that application. In terms of the cloud, and Ms. Myrna, who works for Microsoft Azure, I just wanted to make sure that are there new, what do you call it, types of encryption, as we call it, the fully homomorphic encryption, which allows actually the customer to share its data, okay, encrypt it first, share it. The consuming party will never be able to know the data in its original format. They will take advantage of the value of sharing that data, but they will not know it's actually the original format. This is one thing that the consultancy companies and companies who are specialized in working in this field advise us to do. I'm not sure if Myrna can answer this, because there is a huge difference between security and encryption, or sorry, the sensitivity of that information. Security is different, and the privacy is another matter. Okay, if I do not know, if for example I do not want to share my gender, what is my gender? That is entirely up to me according to GDPR. Okay. If I do not want you to know what is my age, that is up to me. Again, how do you technically achieve that? Is through applying proper encryption mechanisms that actually go throughout the use of that particular data set. Yeah. The question is the cloud provider technologically ready to implement such homomorphic encryption or not?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Radwan. Thanks a lot for the question. So in brief, if I am to answer you, yes, homomorphic encryption is currently part of our AI projects. So this is a topic that definitely we can discuss it in details together, and we can tap into other encryption capabilities that we can support today at Microsoft Cloud. So just if I'm to answer you in short, the answer would be yes. We are currently on this project.
Ms. Mirna, could you respond to Mr. Abdurrahman from Ashghal regarding using, let's say, your tools with big data in Qatar?
Definitely. We have lots of projects across the government leveraging our modern data warehouse technology with our Azure Synapse and Power BI. We have several ongoing projects. We can definitely discuss some of them privately. But again, to answer you, the answer is yes, a lot. We have more than 20 across the government of Synapse deployments almost.
Thank you, Mirna. Are there any questions?
Yes, Doctor, there is one question for you, I think. كيف سيتم تجنب ازدواجية البيانات من الجهات الرسمية للبيانات على سبيل المثال البيانات التي من المستشفيات ومؤسسات المجتمع المدني؟ هل سيتم تحديد جهة واحدة فقط لتزييد الجهاز بالبيانات؟
فيما يتعلق فيما يتعلق بالسجلات الإدارية الواردة من الجهات الحكومية، هذه البيانات من الممكن التعامل معها وتقييمها. على سبيل المثال كما أشرت سابقا، كل شخص مقيم في قطر عنده identification، فما يردنا من وزارة التربية والتعليم هناك بيانات مكملة لنفس الشخص تردنا بعض المعلومات تردنا من وزارة الداخلية، فعملية تكامل هالبيانات ومقارنتها مع بعض البعض، يعني تجربتنا أنه أصبحت السجلات الإدارية جيدة. قد يشوب بعض الخطأ، مثلا تسجيل شخص على أنه يعني مثلا اسم جمال باللغة العربية، جمال قد يعطى للميل ويعطى للفيميل، فالمزيد من البحث حول هذا الموضوع يتم التعامل معه وتصحيحه بالرجوع إلى المصادر الرئيسية. فما أعتقد أنه نحن بناخذ فيما يتعلق بالسجلات الإدارية الرسمية من المجتمع المدني أي بيانات ذات فيها أو ذات علاقة بالسجلات الإدارية المتوفرة، فنعتمد السجلات الحكومية بالدرجة الأولى، يعني هو الفيصل في هذه العملية. أما فيما يتعلق بمسوح المنشآت فهي منشآت أيضا تردنا منا معلومات عن طريق قسم منا من وزارة الاقتصاد ووزارة المالية، قسم منا يردنا عن طريق المسوح بالعينة من المؤسسات، فما أعتقد يحصل هناك تضارب، لأنه بصير عملية يعني تنقية للبيانات واعتماد بيانات واحدة. أي أسئلة بعد متوفرة سناء أو؟
شكرا دكتور أحمد. دكتور Khaled is raising his hand, so if you can unmute yourself and go on. دكتور أحمد، دكتور خالد تفضل.
نعم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله، تفضل.
معكم دكتور خالد عادل القردابي، مدير إدارة نظم المعلومات ومستشار مكتب سعادة الرئيس. أود مقدما في البداية أرحب بكم جميعا مرة ثانية، وأشكر جهود الدكتور أحمد حسين على تنظيم هالورشة الهامة، وأيضا أشكر جميع المشاركين اللي شاركوا بكل خبراتهم سواء كان حوسبة والتوجه الرقمي، وعندنا عدة مشاريع معها ومع الشركات الأخرى أيضا في الدولة. أحب أكد على أهمية موضوع قواعد البيانات اللجنة العليا لمشاريع الإرث، أيضا لجنة خارطة الطريق لكأس العالم، المتطلبات الأمنية والأمن السيبراني والجميع والكثير والعديد من المهام والمسؤوليات المتعلقة بالإدارة وبالجهاز للتوجه الرقمي، مع أيضا وزارة الاتصالات وتكنولوجيا المعلومات. فالجميع إن شاء الله يكون استفادوا من هالورشة، وإحنا في الجهاز إن شاء الله على استعداد لتلبي أي إن شاء الله يعني في مستقبلا مبادرات ومشاريع مستقبلية لدعم هذا التوجه الهام لتنظيم وتوحيد قواعد البيانات في الدولة مستقبلا، لاتخاذ القرار والتخطيط على مستوى الدولة ووضع المؤشرات الخاصة بما يتناسب المؤشرات الخاصة بالدولة. واشكر الجميع مرة ثانية، وإن شاء الله تكون هذه مبادرة جيدة والعديد من المفاعلات في المستقبل.
شكرا دكتور خالد على دعمك، وفعلا يعني كلام لازم نقوله انه اداره نظم المعلومات قدمت لنا دعم كبير حتى قدرنا نفذنا ورشه العمل هاي. انا بصراحه في ختام ورشه العمل حلقه العمل هاي اللي هي عن بعد طبعا، يعني فيني اقول انه انا تعلمت كثير من مقدمي العروض، وتعلمت كثير من الاسئله اللي تم سؤالها، وايضا يعني انا عاجز بالفعل يعني في الختام عن شكر مقدمي العروض، يعني قدموا عروض مبدعه ومتميزه فعلا فيما يتعلق بهذا الجانب. وهذا عمل بصراحه ممكن اقول عمل كبير، يعني سيشغل جهاز التخطيط والاحصاء بكافه يعني بكافه مجالاته. يعني احنا حتى قدرنا نفذنا هذا بحلقه العمل هاي، يعني فعلا لابد الا نذكر رئيس جهاز التخطيط والاحصاء الدكتور صالح النابت، ونشكر كمان سعاده السيد محمد النعيمي اللي كمان ساعدنا ووفرنا كل الدعم، اداره نظم المعلومات، اداره العلاقات العامه، وزملائنا اللي اشتغلوا حتى قدرنا فعلا اجتمعنا مع بعض. والآن بدي أطلب من الجميع أنه يظهر على الشاشة حتى زميلاتنا يقدروا ياخذوا صورة كاملة مشان الفاينل ريبورت لهذه الحلقة. فسناء وديبي إذا ممكن تاخذوا صورة برنت سكرين يعني، فبطلب من الجميع يبين على الشاشة اللي بيرغب طبعا، يعني فرانسيسكو، ميرنا، عصام أمامي، محمد، مين كمان في عندي، خالد أحمد، في عندي الدكتور خالد، في عندي مين كمان، محمد، وين مش شايف حدا مبين، قليل اللي أنا شايفهم، الدكتور براك، هند، اكيد رح نعمل فاينل ريبورت. وكمان اداره نظم المعلومات عم بيساعدونا في ويب سايت بيج نحط فيها كل العروض، ونحط فيها معلومات عن المحاضرين وكامل العمليه ان شاء الله قريبا، يعني اصبح قسم منا كبير جاهز يعني. فاعتقد انه في مشكله في ظهور
معكم دكتور
مديبي. نعم
احنا معكم على الشاشه ايضا.
ايه بس عدد قليل، يعني حوالي 4 هلا امامي 5.
دكتور لو سمحت سؤال سريع اثناء وجود الجميع، بس لاني على التدريب الاحصائي المتخصص، لانه نحن نعاني صراحه في الوزارات والهيئات الحكوميه من نقص القدرات الاحصائيه.
نعم.
بالنسبه للمهندسين وبالنسبه يمكن حتى الاطباء والمهنيين المختصين يعني.
التدريب الاحصائي بصراحه يعني اذا هذا الموضوع يعني فيك تكتب لسعاده رئيس جهاز التخطيط والاحصاء وتطرح الموضوع معه، من الممكن يعني يقوموا بتنظيم يعني بعض جوانب التدريب الاحصائي يعني. وفي عندنا اعتقد كمان دورات حكوميه يمكن بالتنميه الاداريه، او يعني انا مش متابع كثير هذا الموضوع، لكن الافضل شانل صحيح كتابي لرئيس جهاز التخطيط والاحصاء حول هذا الموضوع. اذا يعني بالختام انا كمان مره ثانيه، يعني صارت الساعه 12 لازم ننهي، بس عاجز فعلا عن شكركم مره اخرى. واشكر بالتحديد مدير يعني زملائنا من ماليزيا، واشكر مدير الاستاذ محمد مدير الجهاز الاحصاء الماليزي، واللي قدموا العروض، وزملائنا من ايطاليا، وطبعا انتم عرفوهم وقدمناهم، وزميلتنا ميرنا ولطيفي وكل اللي عملوا مداخلات. شكرا مرة أخرى، وأعلن انتهاء ورشة العمل أو حلقة العمل. شكرا لكم، نشوفكم إن شاء الله في أنشطة أخرى. شكرا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم.
شكرا جزيلا، مع السلامة. شكرا.
مع السلامة. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة، شكرا، يعطيكم العافية.
مع ألف سلامة.